So your rookie draft is over and you're wondering, what guys should I pick up? Because there's plenty of other guys that are available, and I'm going to go through some of the biggest taxi squad stashes to pick up after your Dynasty rookie draft is over. I'm going to rank them all in the order that I would pick them up. So picture this video basically as the order that I go in them as is what your waiver wire priority list should look like. And I'll also give you guys some fab recommendations as well. And first off, quick honorable mention to Oronde Gadsden, because we did talk about him in the sleepers video. And if we talked about them in the sleepers video, if they go undrafted, obviously they would be great pickups. But I'm mentioning Gadsden again because he is technically going undrafted about half the time. Great production, talented pass catcher, great athleticism, goes to the Chargers with a 5th-round pick. But it is a wide-open tight end core. It's just Will Dissly. It's just Tyler Conklin ahead of him on the depth chart. He ran a 4.64. He's a very solid prospect. Best comparables to a lot of early day 3 type of guys. Harrison Bryant, Jatavian Sanders, Isaiah Likely. Jim Harbaugh likes using his tight ends from Vernon Davis, Kobe Fleener, Jake Butt, Luke Schoonmaker, and of course most recently with Colston Loveland as focal points of his offense. Even last year with the Chargers, they were trying to get Dissly and Stone Smart involved. He is looking for a tight end to start for this team, and I think that Oronde Gadsden can be an excellent move option for him. So if he goes undrafted, definitely be willing to spend 50, 70% of your total fab budget on Gadsden if you are looking for a tight end specifically, or if you're just looking for a great stash. He's a great one. Damien Martinez, number 2 on this list. Again, going in order of what my waiver wire priority would look like. Damien Martinez, Seattle Seahawks running back, was drafted 223rd overall. Right now, he is going off the board 46th overall on Keep Trade Cut, 51st overall in our Flock expert rankings. So about half the time probably going undrafted as well. Martinez goes to a landing spot that is very crowded, right? Kenneth Walker is there. Zach Charbonnet is there. But this was a top 9 running back in the class for me. We're talking about a dude that legit can play. I had him higher than RJ Harvey. I had him higher than DJ Giddens. I had him higher than a lot of other running backs that went ahead of him during the actual NFL draft. Kenneth Walker is a free agent after this season. Damien Martinez could work into at least a backup role behind Zach Charbonnet beyond that. And Charbonnet is a free agent after next season. So who knows at that point in time. Damien Martinez has nimble feet. He's got great size, great physicality. I think he has a pretty high ceiling for just being 21 years old and being a 3-year starter coming out of college. Improved as a receiver in 2024. Productive as hell. Just a little bit of a workload concern, top-end speed concern, even though he ran a 4.51. He's just a good player, man. He's not going to affect the game like crazy on 3rd down, but he can be a great early down back for an NFL team, and I'm really surprised he went in the 7th round. I thought he was going to go in the 3rd or the 4th round, and it wasn't just me. His consensus ranking on NFL Mock Draft Database was 101st overall. Most people thought this guy was a 3rd or a 4th round talent. Just give the dude touches. However he gets them, maybe it's injury, maybe it's whatever. Let him climb the depth chart by year 2 to 3. This is exactly what a taxi squad is for, which most of these guys are going to end up on taxi squads for you guys. You throw him on your taxi squad, you forget about him for a calendar year, and then maybe in week 13, he has like a random game where he's the starter because both Charbonnet and Walker are hurt. And you're like, oh yeah, I have Damien Martinez on my taxi squad. And then by year 2, year 3, he's actually something for you. So definitely another guy that I'd be willing to spend most of, if not all of my fab budget on, 50, 70, 80% of it, because he's normally getting drafted really late. And then the final guy that's kind of like in this tier of below most of your fab if they go undrafted is Tory Horton, wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks. Ironically, a lot of guys from my sleeper video are in this video because apparently I just cursed them all, and there's actually more later on. Another guy that I would be willing to spend 50, 70% of my budget on because he had great downfield usage as a prospect, really good hands, yards after catch ability. He was used in multiple different ways depending on the year at Colorado State. 2023, he was more of like a get the ball in his hands, yards after catch guy. 2022, more of a downfield outside wide receiver guy. Tested really well at the combine, 9.81 RAS score, 4.41 40-yard dash. Production very solid for multiple years. He's not very nuanced. He's not the most physical guy in the world, and he can't really get off press coverage at this point in time. I suspect he fell to round 5 because of the hamstring and LCL injuries that he suffered at the end of 2024. Maybe medically red flagged him for a couple of teams because he did have surgery after the season was done. But this is a dude with legit size, athleticism, and a 51.66% dominator rating in his best season at Colorado State, which was better than any other receiver in this class. You don't see big productive athletic wide receivers fall very often. Like I said, I think it was medically related. JSN is obviously there. Cooper Kupp, who they signed in free agency, and MVS is the third receiver, and Kupp is also old and often injured. So I think that Horton could work into 3 wide receiver sets as soon as after training camp, probably. And like I said, Kupp, not the most reliable guy at this point in his career, would not shock me if Horton becomes their number 1 outside wide receiver with JSN manning the slot in the long term. He was a solid wide receiver prospect, flex play caliber for me. You could see some of the comps there for Tory Horton being Puka Nacua, Jalen McMillan, Antonio Callaway, some of those type of guys. Again, I highly doubt he turns into Puka Nacua, but 13% chance wide receiver 3 or better production for flex play prospects. Typically, I like going after guys that I liked on film, and I like their profile. So next up, we have Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. Did unfortunately go undrafted in the NFL draft. He is going 53rd overall, 55th overall, so mainly undrafted in a lot of your rookie drafts. I would spend 30 to 50% of my fab budget on him as well. He did not run a 4.85 on tape. You cannot convince me that a guy who led all wide receivers in this class with 40.6% of his plays being considered booms runs a 4.85. He's back with his college quarterback in Cam Ward in Tennessee. Despite going undrafted, he actually has a chance to work his way up the depth chart pretty quickly. I love Alec Iomanner. We talked about him in the sleeper video. But other than Calvin Ridley, they have, Treylon Burks and a couple of other kind of lower end dudes. They ended up signing, I believe it was Tyler Lockett in free agency as well. So there's still guys on this team. There's still guys in this receiving core. But I do think that Xavier Restrepo can learn from a guy like Tyler Lockett right away and work into this rotation as a solid slot receiver. Khalil Shakir was my comp for him, even with the UDFA capital. He is a similar bet to guys like Savion Williams, who went in the 3rd round, and after a rock-solid slot receiver profile throughout his college career, falling because of, the fact that he ran slow. I think this is like this year's Jalen Coker, to be honest, because Coker, I thought, was a 3rd, 4th round prospect, goes undrafted. Xavier Restrepo, 3rd, 4th round capital prospect, and he ends up going undrafted. So definitely make sure you are stashing him. I would say there's probably a tier break after those guys because they were probably the best available UDFAs. I will say this class, not nearly as good of UDFAs as last year's class. Tai Felton, another guy that I feel like is a pretty decent UDFA. Might not go undrafted, but he is a pretty good option if he does. 49th overall ADP on Keep Trade Cut, 44th overall in our Flock expert rankings. I suspect he'll get 4th round capital in a lot of people's drafts because he went in the 3rd round of the actual NFL draft. I realize he's in a great offense that has a lot of really talented players. Jefferson, Addison, TJ Hawkinson will all likely out-target him, but he's a fun field stretcher, and I would say especially if you guys are in Dynasty best ball leagues, you should be interested in Tai Felton because he has the type of skill set where he can catch long touchdowns, make explosive plays happen, yards after catch ability-wise. Jalen Naylor was literally in my winning lineup in one league last year because he had these boom weeks out of nowhere sometimes, and I will say that I think Tai Felton will immediately threaten Jalen Naylor's starting job. He's got size, he's got explosiveness, great burst, good versatility as well, really good testing numbers at 4.37, 92nd percentile burst score, and I do think the route running framework is there for him to develop on your taxi, which again, the purpose of a taxi squad for the most part is to just throw him there and then a year later kind of evaluate what happened, because you're not usually taking players off of your taxi squads unless they're just having breakout rookie seasons. And I think with Tai Felton, you're going to see, it was a pretty solid rookie season. Let's see what he's got left going forward, and that's kind of my takeaway on him. Tez Johnson, Buccaneer grade officially now, 52nd overall, 60th overall in our expert rankings / Keep Trade Cut, probably going undrafted in a lot of people's leagues. We know why, because he fell to round 7. It was not because he isn't a stone cold baller, because he is. If you watch his film, he's a good player. It's that he can go set for set with me in a weight room. He's too small to play wide receiver at this point in time. The Bucs have an embarrassment of riches at this position as well. You have Emeka Egbuka they drafted in the 1st round. You have Godwin and Evans, of course. You have Jalen McMillan. Other players that I feel like they like still in, Raheem Jarrett and Trey Palmer and those type of dudes. I'm honestly just super excited for, as a fan of this team, what Tez Johnson can do probably on special teams, I would imagine, is where he's going to have to, make himself useful as like a punt returner, kick returner, that kind of stuff. But he's a good player, man. If he can add a little bit of size, get up to like 165 pounds or whatever, he can be a long-term wide receiver 3, let's say 2 to 3 years down the road when Egbuka and McMillan are the 1 and the 2, or Egbuka's the 1 and maybe they bring in another 2. And I could see him fighting for the number 3 job with McMillan in the future. I just think he's a good player. I think his film is good. I think he can play. He is a flex play caliber caliber prospect, just like Tory Horton and Tai Felton from this video. So I do like taking shots on Tez Johnson as a taxi squad sleeper as well. That was a mouthful. KeAndre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver now of the Los Angeles Chargers. He is going pretty much undrafted unanimously across the board. Probably wouldn't spend much fab, if at all, any fab on him. He is 6'1", 190 pounds. I just really liked his tape. That's the only reason I want to, stash him on my taxi squad. There were flashes of explosive plays, flashes of route running, yards after catch wise. I thought he was really solid. I thought he had good body control at the catch point as well. Downfield ability is solid. And if you squint and then probably get your eyes tested for cataracts, you might even see a little bit of CeeDee Lamb in his game. I know that's like a huge thing to say about like a 5th round wide receiver, but he kind of does look like him a little bit at times. Like I said, just liked his film. I don't know. He's fun. The Chargers have room to climb the depth chart. Other than Trey Harris, who they drafted in the 2nd round, Ladd McConkey, who they drafted last year, who's obviously a big hit. QJ, they're going to have to make a decision on pretty soon. Mike Williams, a short-term stopgap there. I could see KeAndre Lambert-Smith working in as like the 3rd best receiver on this team 2 years from now. Maybe he's the new Josh Palmer from like a fantasy angle. And again, that doesn't sound super exciting, but we're talking about UDFAs here. If you got Josh Palmer back a couple years ago as a UDFA, you would consider that a good investment that you put into him, just throwing him on the end of your taxi squad. And I think that Lambert-Smith can be that for you. Again, similar prospect to what I said with Restrepo and then some of the other guys there. Raheim Sanders, the last guy that I'm going to go kind of in depth on, 3rd Charger of the video, which is pretty insane. Looks like they just picked up a bunch of prospects I like. Another one of these dudes that I just thought had pretty good tape. I think he fell also for medical reasons. He had a lot of injuries throughout his college career. He was worthy of going round 4, round 5. He's big, he's fast, he's athletic, he can make people miss, he can catch the football. We've seen really good peak production from him back in 2022 at the University of Arkansas. Would it shock me if by year 2, Najee is gone and he's Omar Hampton's handcuff and he actually has some utility for that reason? No. So stash him, especially if you draft Omar Hampton at 102, 103. I do think he's a half-decent guy to just throw on the back of your taxi squad, and you could have your handcuff for free there. So Raheim Sanders does actually compare kind of favorably to James Robinson, which is really interesting. I really wish he would have gone to like the Cowboys or somebody that has like a climbable depth chart, because with Harris and with Omar Hampton there, you're probably not going to get much playing time sans an injury. But Dante Thornton Jr. was a top 120 pick from the Las Vegas Raiders. Win Sprint King, very likely, but he does have a little bit of a fun skill set, so if you wanted to throw him on your taxi squad, that's fine. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to throw Isaiah Bond on the end of their taxi squads, but this dude might never play in the NFL. The fact that nobody has still not signed this dude means that he probably did that shit. He's probably not going to ever play in the NFL because he's probably guilty, and that's why teams haven't signed him. Pick him up if you want, but I wouldn't spend any fab on Isaiah Bond at this point in time. Dylan Gabriel is going to go undrafted, even though he was drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to maybe buy into the draft capital and throw him on the end of my taxi squad. Whatever player you like, maybe it's like an Isaac Tesla or a Shamir DK or Jalen Lane or Arian Smith. Some of these guys got capital but are going to go undrafted because they were absolutely awful prospects. If you pick them up and you like them, or Nick Nash, I know has like a cult following, just pick them up. It's UDFAs, whatever. Doesn't really matter that much. I listed basically the best like 8 or 9 guys that I'm going to be picking up. But if you like other guys, that's totally cool. At this point in the draft, there is no real investment into these players. So if you wanted to go because you love Nick Nash and pick him up in every single league that you're in, go nuts, because you're going to look very smart if it works out for you. And last year, Jalen Coker was that guy for me, and I have him in like literally every single league because of it. And at the very least, he's improved upon his UDFA status and become a viable asset for me that if I wanted to, I could probably trade for an early 3rd round pick or something at this point in time. So that is the end of the video. Taxi Squad stashes. Let me know who your favorite Taxi Squad stash is down below. Fab budget stuff. If you have any questions, leave them down below as well. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Check out our site for rookie rankings, rookie draft guide, prospect model stuff, trade value chart coming probably tomorrow or the next day. So definitely stay tuned for everything we got going on over there. But with that being said, peace out. I'll talk to you soon.